So, as for the question, would I recommend the book? I would. I would even go as far as to say I would rate it maybe a 4 out of 5. Hi, my name is Terry Westwell and welcome back to Panic at the Book Club. This week we'll be discussing Beach Read by Emily Henry. If you'd like to take part in this online book club, you can find out more information on how via the channel's intro video. I list the next 4 books down below and on TikTok along with the discussion dates, and we accept your book feedback in a wide manner of ways. Post your comments below a video, send me a voice note, or even send me a short video clip of you discussing the book. Alternatively, you could just send me a direct message on Instagram. A romance writer who no longer believes in love, and a literary writer stuck in a rut, engage in a summer-long challenge that may just upend everything they believe about happily ever afters. Augustus Everett is an acclaimed author of literary fiction, and January writes best-selling romance. When she writes a happily ever after, he kills his entire cast. They're polar opposites. In fact, the only thing they have in common is over the next 3 months, they'll be living in neighbouring beach houses, broke and bogged down with writer's block. Until one evening, one thing leads to another and they strike a deal, designed to get them out of their creative ruts. Augustus will spend the summer writing something happy, and January will write the next great American novel. She'll take him on field trips worthy of any rom-com montage, and he'll take her to interview survivors of a backwoods death cult. In telling each other's stories, their worlds may be changed entirely. Just your friendly spoiler alert that if you haven't read this book yet, I would suggest going doing that first, because beyond this point there will definitely be spoilers. Beach Read is a slow burn, enemies to lovers romance novel with a few spicy vanilla scenes. It was a super easy read with decent chapter lengths, ideal enough to read a chapter or 2 before bed. There was no fast-paced adventure or extreme plot twists, but it did have realistic characters with very real problems. I think if we knew more of January before her dad died, when she had a more picture-perfect view on life, I think it would have made the character a lot less relatable and probably a lot more annoying. But I loved her snarky attitude and her humour. It was made realistic in the little things and in the funny one-liners and the banter between Gus and January. I'm just saying, the next time you're trying to convince me to get into your car, you'll save a lot more time if you just skip to the donuts. Personally, I thought that was the most relatable sentence in the book. The thing about January, I think one of the most important things when it comes to books is the character's name. And I say this despite that one of my favourite people on the planet is named November. I personally love the name. However, every time I talk about November to others, I'll likely say my friend November for clarity. I don't think the name January was the easiest character's name for a book. But then again, it was a pretty straightforward book to read with very minimal characters, so I don't think it confused anything too much. So when January first moves into this house and meets her new neighbour, she has no idea who he is. Despite knowing the guy for 4 years, her supposed rival, and then Google stalking him for a further 6 years to compare careers, she didn't recognise him. I get the scene was set in a dark environment and he was in the shadows, but after they'd had a full-blown argument and they were glaring at each other, I just found that a little hard to believe. Gus wasn't your stereotypical romance love interest. He wasn't smartly dressed all the time, he wasn't particularly ripped, and he wasn't over the top damaged. Instead, he was pretty normal. Like, he was a little bit of a slob, but he was an ordinary person with ordinary problems, and he dealt with them like a regular person. The guy had a vomit phobia, for crying out loud. Like, he wasn't exactly the world's misguided and toxic projection of macho male character. Instead, the book took its time to make you fall in love with the characters and the concept that they might end up together. Like, neither of them were perfect. I mean, January had her purse wine, and Gus probably didn't clean his clothes anywhere near as much as a grown person should. It was very sweet and romantic, and it had you invested in January and Gus because they were going through issues that were very relatable. One thing that bugged me about the book is they evidently had a drinking problem. Like, there's nothing wrong with a drink every now and then, but the book seemed to constantly justify drink driving. It's not like I've never been in a rural area where taxis don't really exist, but I just thought that the book promoted drunk driving a lot. Like, one moment, January is stumbling around, drunk and angry, and the next, they're waiting to sober up so that they can drive back home. I just think there's a better solution to them only having one Uber driver in the area than have them driving around drunk the whole time. So, as for the question, would I recommend the book? I would. I would even go as far as to say I would rate it maybe a 4 out of 5. However, I'm not sure I'd recommend it to someone who wasn't already into romance and just wanted an easy read. Like, the book didn't have any surprising elements. The main focus was very much that romantic build between these two characters. Sure, they had other stuff going on, but for those who would usually expect a grand adventure and a fast paced plot, they might find this book is a little bit slow. Yet it had me turning the page to find out how it ends. It was a very relatable book that aimed to pull on the heartstrings and challenge the world's view on the romance genre. But let me know what you thought. Did you enjoy the book? Next week we'll be discussing Don't Swipe Right, so don't forget to get your comments and thoughts in by Monday the 16th of October at the latest to be a part of the discussion. You can now do this on YouTube, TikTok or Instagram. The following week we'll be discussing A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, but don't forget I do now list the next 4 books down below so you can choose which one best suits you. Thank you all for joining, and if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you all next week. Bye.